So I've been with my family, right, for like 3.5 weeks now, and I didn't talk about the things which I wanted to talk about. Um, I sort of just, yeah, I sort of just didn't. I avoided the whole topic, not really knowingly, but it's sort of, I just never seemed like the right moment, and I sort of work toward having a more righteous moment, but it sort of just didn't happen. Um, my mom was like working the entire time, and we were talking, and we had time to talk about like a lot of other things, but like the really deep things, I sort of just didn't bring them up because I feel like it's too like we don't have enough time. But honestly, I think it's fine because the holiday itself was like really nice. Like usually I always when I'm at my family's I have like issues with my mom and my stepdad because of just well, first of all, of course, their political views, and second of all, just I don't know, because these old patterns emerge, and then you just piss each other off and I don't know, get hurt and stuff like this. But this time it sort of has been different with these patterns. Like, I really felt like I noticed how therapy is actually doing something for me. Like, I had like some conversations where I noticed I'm sort like the pattern sort of emerges right now. And I was just able to like directly in the conversation double down on vulnerability instead of getting in this position of having to like defend myself and my standpoint and argue for the validity of this standpoint. But I was just able to like just be like, hey, this is how like I interpret what you say. Like but this is not really helpful to me. Sort of. And then my mom actually also took that opportunity then to sort of like clarify how she didn't want to like hurt me with this or to push something onto me with this. Um, which was definitely not what she said at the beginning. Like, let's be clear. That language works different. But it fixed the issue. So I don't give a fuck. But my mom always expresses those things then with this absolute confidence that this wasn't even what she said. And like, no, that's obviously not what she means. Where you're like next to her being like, how? Anyway. Um, but yeah, if you sort of just ignore that part, then she explained how she means it and how it was just meant as like a helpful tip way, possibility, whatever. Um, instead of as like berating and this is the only way and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. Like honestly though, I think my mom is autistic too. Like Like if I'm autistic, my mom is definitely autistic. Like you know what I mean? Like the way I like you know see myself like my behaviors and my old behaviors in her, bro. Yeah. We're definitely like big neurodivergent. Absolutely. Um Now, honestly, I feel like it would really like I was sort of like this before I knew I'm neurodivergent, I think. I definitely had that attitude, but on the same, like at the same time, of course, I got that attitude from her as well. Like I learned it from her, right? So, um, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I thought it's gonna be like really exhausting and like really like that. I just like lose all my social energy on this, and that like after a week or something, I want to go back. Um, but yeah, with this, like, I don't know, just apparently therapy did something. And that's why I was able to like sort of communicate really well with them and just notice how I feel in that moment or how my body feels in that moment, and then take the like proper yeah, not answers, but like react properly to this and like care for myself as well. And honestly, I never missed gaming. Like I missed you guys, but I never missed gaming. Like I was never thinking like, oh, like I'm gonna alone game now. Like no. Um but what I did have more time for and did spend more time on was, for example, like reading and going outside and going for a walk and reading again. I finished my first book. I started the second book. I'm nearly done with the second book. And they're so interesting. Like I was reading the like To Fight Against This Age, which is on fascism and humanism, right? And I finally finished that one and it's so amazing. I love it. And then I started The Drama of the Gifted Child, which is like a psychology book about the parent-child dynamic. And it's also so interesting. And it's like none of that is like easy reading or something, but I loved it. And then I started to get into like more creative things as well, like for example like crocheting and stuff. And I really feel like I'm gonna start crocheting as a new hobby. So I'm like, yeah. It changed me, guys. It changed me. That's totally okay. Sometimes you're not ready to talk about stuff. I totally feel that. I mean, sometimes you need to push yourself, but sometimes it's totally fine not to. Yeah, I feel like I always worry that I like avoid things. So I'm usually not the person who does that because I'm so like sensitive to noticing when I do. But I'm sort of just sad that there wasn't like more time for me and my mom sort of in like a one-on-one talk. Because she was always like in between work sort of, so you never wanted to bring up these like huge topics. But I actually talked to them about maybe being autistic, and I thought both of them would sort of react like very weirdly towards that, but they didn't. So that was nice. Like it was honestly, it was surprisingly good. It was surprisingly good family vacation. Well, it was for me. It was a vacation, right? They were working. High FPS player. Games. What do you mean games? I mean just chatting, my guy. My mom always says something hurtful and then immediately adds, "I didn't mean it like that." And I'm thinking, then think 2 seconds more before you speak. Like, what the fuck? Oh. Yeah, it's like therapy was helping me too with many things. I would always recommend it. Therapy is amazing, definitely. That's for sure. Like therapy, amazing. Love that. With like the parent-child dynamic, oh my god, it's so exhausting. Like even with therapy, I think it's one of the hardest relationships to take your knowledge into because I feel like what so once you start therapy, um the first thing I think it changes is your relationship to strangers. Um, and there you can like instantly sort of like take the new things you have learned and use them. And then sort of the second thing is like work, I think. And then like friends, and then family. And I feel like friends can already be sort of tough because there's like, even with friends, there's like, depending on like how long you know them for, there's like a pattern which has formed. And around this pattern are like lots of expectations, right? So like changing the way you want to, like the way you behave, and changing the way you want others to behave around you and treat you, and how you treat yourself, is going to influence that pattern a lot. And the worst is honestly with family, I think. Like with friends, it's already not easy, and you're gonna lose some friends probably, and then you're gonna make some new friends instead. But with family, because you sort of like, because they hold so much weight, because it's like you only have one mom, you can't like exchange her for someone else. You have only like one dad. Um, and it just makes it like, except if you have lesbian moms. But you only have like this family. And even if it's only like a grandma or granddad or something, it's like you're sort of like dependent to make it work with this specific person. And you're really, yeah, you're like dependent emotionally on it as well. And it's so tough, I think, because with some people, like even if they're in your family, it won't work. It just won't work. And that's just, I don't know, it's like a really hard situation, I think, where there's like this huge ethical question of like, do you stick around them and sort of like lower your standards to have that person around you? Or do you not lower your standards and you don't have that person around you? And this is like, I don't know. Exactly. Like with other people, you would just be like, well, okay, then not anyways, like goodbye. Let's find a new person. But with your family, it's just, yeah. Not sure what to say about games. Well, you don't really need to say anything about games. Because I think, like, did anybody talk about games? Like, I talked about games before that I get like motion sick from them, and that I didn't play like as like just me play games. But now we're just doing like a mental health check-in. So feel free to join that one. But yeah. So with my dad, I've broken contact because I think with my dad, it's just from how I understand him, he will always hurt me. And it's not really something like he could definitely do something against it, of course. Like he could start therapy, he could like, you know, like try to understand my point of view in all of this. But I do think he might actually be narcissistic. Um, and the other thing is that I did talk to him, and he did not only not understand, but sort of use it against me. And I had like at the beginning, I only took like I had like no contact, but then I left him the option to like contact me on social media. And like after like sort of like after a year or something, I like unblocked him and left him the option to just be like, like maybe now he sees what's going on. Like maybe now it has like this whole topic has cooled off and he's sort of come to his senses. But he didn't. The way he answered was just like way more vicious and hurtful than before. He was really like sort of like acting out and lashing out on me for not wanting contact to him anymore. So this only sort of like that was specifically his pattern. Like his pattern is everybody else around him is at fault. Like it's not his fault. He's the victim in his own life. Like he's only not successful because of my mom and because of me, because he stopped his studies for me. And then he's only not like really well off or whatever because of his like job right now, and like they just don't see his potential, blah blah blah, whatever. Like he's very lost in that perspective that as a kid he was very smart and he was the smartest kid in school, and now he didn't do something with it, sort of. And I think he feels like a lot of shame about this, also because of his parents. But he always kept being dependent on them, like first of all financially, but also emotionally. And I think that's sort of the reason why he also can't really break out of that pattern. So, yeah. So that's just why I stopped having contact with him, because I believed just what he said. And I don't know, I think it's honestly best for both of us if we don't have contact. Because he definitely doesn't like me, like, for what? But with my mom and my stepdad and my, like, there's my sisters, right? So, like, they have definitely, like, there's more pressure to make it work with them because of my sisters. But at the same time, I think it's, like, way easier to make it work with them because there hasn't been so huge forms of neglect. Like, there was neglect for sure, but, like, not in the extreme form as with my dad. So it's like, I don't know, like the worst thing basically which could happen is my mom being hurtful to me, and that's like, she can be really like vicious, but it's still like, it's sort of easier to handle than, yeah, than my dad's acting out. So I think that's sort of, I guess, why I have still contact to my mom. Also to my mom, it's like weird because when you talk to her about it, she's like very easily defensive about sort of stuff. But at the same time, she does change, which is really like frustrating because usually you want people to hear you, right? Like if you want to change something and you come to them and stuff, like you want them to hear you and listen to you and be accountable in front of you. And that's honestly like might even be like more important in that moment than what happens afterwards. Like, oh, of course something needs to change, but like it's like really important to feel like that person wants to change. And with my mom, you never feel like she wants to change, but she sort of does change. So I think it's more of like a delayed response to the talk you have with her. But yeah, anyway, like change happens and it's way better than before already. But I also think that might be the case because my dad is out of the picture now. Because that's honestly like, that was really fucked up that my mom had to still have contact with my dad. Because of me. Like that's really annoying for her. And like I guess like hard to heal from stuff as well. But yeah. I don't know, I can only recommend reading the book I'm reading right now. The Drama of the Gifted Child. Like I think it gives like so much insight into the struggle between like parents and their children. And also like how everybody's a child basically. Like even the parents are still children and are still influenced by their parents. And that influences then also how we are influenced by them. And I feel like there's so much insight into this. And sometimes the book is honestly like, sometimes it's very confident in the consequences or conclusion it makes. But and I don't like that too much if there's like, if you talk like there's no other possibility about things like psychology. I don't really appreciate that tone. But apart from that tone, it's like really good. I personally, you can absolutely like always ask if you want to know something. And then like asking never costs anything. I love that you like, you're like, I don't know, like Looney's like always so considerate. I really love that. I don't, well, it's like, it's a complicated question actually. Because I sort of don't. At the same time, I do have like a lot of maternal instinct. Like I would, for example, I really like to teach people and explain stuff. So I would really love to be a teacher maybe, or like even maybe like a babysitter or something. And maybe I would even like to adopt a child one day, but I really like, I'm absolutely not behind this picture of being pregnant. Like, don't just miss me with that, please. Like, I I have learned way too many things about pregnancy. What can happen to you? What is like a very normal emotional, hormonal response? All of that crap. Like, no. Like, our society, honestly, like, it's dangerous to be pregnant, I think. Like, genuinely. Like, I don't know, like, why people take it like so. Like, actually, I know why people talk about it like it's easy, because most people don't even know. Most people don't even know that, for example, miscarriages are way more like often happening than we talk about them, because you don't know, right? Like a lot of the miscarriage actually happened so early on that you were never able to see. So it's like you don't know for most people. And it's like honestly scary also the healthcare around miscarriage. So like friends of us actually told us that they had multiple miscarriages, and she was given like because so the baby died. The baby was still still inside her. So they had to get an abortion, and she was given this like it's like a pill which is basically meant to like release the placenta, like part the placenta from your uterus. And you bleed because of that, of course, right? Like it's making basically like a huge wound in your body. But it's like, that's just what happens. Anyways. Well, she nearly died because of that. And not only like the second time they had like, because they tried again, they had again, sadly, a miscarriage. They needed to get an abortion again. And she was given that pill again. Like she, luckily she didn't take it because she was like, "Are you crazy? Like I nearly died because of that." But like the doctor was just like reading through her whole thing and didn't be like, "Yeah." And she nearly died because of it, and whatever. Let's just give her the thing again. Anyways, maybe it's different. So that's absolutely insane. Because like, what the fuck, bro? Like, how can you be so neglectful of your patient in that moment? I don't understand. Then the other thing is, there's like all these influencers right now, right? Who like actually show what being pregnant is like or can be like. And there's people losing their hair to like here. Like completely fall out after pregnancy. And that's like normal. Like what? No, I don't. No, thank you. And then there's people who get like, who literally like after being pregnant and not wanting kids anymore, they let doctors take out their uterus because it's apparently it stays like for some people at least, it stays bigger after pregnancy. And that gives you like medical complaints. But like nobody talks about it. So it's like, I don't know, like pregnancy doesn't seem fun. Let's put it in one picture. Pregnancy doesn't seem fun. So I don't really like, I also don't see a need to have like my own DNA in a child. Like I can basically like, I love like so many people. I absolutely could love a stranger like my child. No questions asked whatsoever. I can. It's like, yeah. So I don't, yeah, I don't know. Like, we already, like, we have so many children who don't have parents, who live in orphanages and stuff like this. So I feel like, why should I, like, I know that for whatever reason, it's like harder to actually adopt a child than just getting one. And that's honestly why a lot of people try to get children themselves instead of adopting one because they couldn't adopt some. Which is in itself like ethically really interesting. But yeah, I think I would just like rather adopt a child and give a child which has been neglected like a second chance instead of just like getting my own child because like yeah, we already have enough children. Doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have my DNA. Like I don't know. Like my DNA is not great. Like I have chronic headache right now. Like I don't know. So yeah. I mean, to be fair, would be I would have like chances of getting like an autistic child, which probably would make it easier to actually like handle that child because I'm autistic, right? So that child thinks like me, like not like properly, but like sort of like it's neurodivergent. But like on the other hand, like most kids are neurodivergent. Or like could be neurodivergent because kids are always sort of a little bit crazy. So I think I'm gonna be fine with any kid. Yeah. I mean, no, honestly, I don't. I think like the adoption process maybe should be like better, but I don't really necessarily think it should be easier. At the same time, I don't like how I talked about wanting a dog, right? Do you know how many comments and questions I got about if I actually want a dog, if I feel ready for a dog, if I not rather want a cat, if I like, am I sure, like, what am I gonna do with the dog on the holidays, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Do you know how little questions you get if you say, like, oh, I'm pregnant? Everybody's just like, congratulations. Oh, how cute. Nobody is like, what do you like? Like, do you have the money for it? Like, do you have a plan for the future? Did you even go to therapy? Did you read any books so far about how to raise a child? My mom actually gifted me a book, How to Raise a Dog. Have you seen anybody gift someone a book on how to raise a child if they say they're pregnant? Like, I don't want to, but like, yeah. So, that's sort of the thing where I feel like, but yeah. I feel like that because of social media, there's more education and enlightenment about the complicated sides of pregnancy, but definitely not enough. My best friend gave birth like 10 months ago, and I heard stuff I've never known. That's crazy, yeah. Did you hear the thing about, like, I only recently heard this. Apparently the placenta, like, I don't know if this is true, but I heard it from, like doctor influencers, so, like, possibly. But, like, apparently the placenta is actually most influenced by the health of the man, like, of the sperm. And the health of the sperm is most influenced by the health of the man, right? So all these dads, like, still drinking, still smoking, being unhealthy AF. Ooh. No. Like, apparently it sort of, like, determines how much side effects you're gonna get from pregnancy as well. And yeah, so I don't know if that is true. That's still, like, even if it's true, it's gonna be like an individual thing for sure. But, like, that's cuckoo beans to me. Like, that's honestly crazy. No, like, thank you for the follow. I'm glad you enjoyed here. Yeah. And honestly, I sort of, like, some of my health problems are oddly same-ish to my dad's. So, and I know my dad wasn't really healthy. Sadly. He was definitely drinking, smoking, being overweight. And, like, I don't know, if you're a person on your own, no big deal. I don't give a fuck. Live your life how you want. But now it's my deal, actually. Now it's my issue that he was smoking and drinking and stuff like this. So I'm like, sir, like, please. What the fuck? Yeah. Well, it's never like, you never know for sure, right? So, like, even if you would know your dad, like, knowing for sure is still, like, a complicated issue, I guess. And I mean, maybe you would have known your dad, and it is like with me, right? That you just have to break up contact, and then yikes. So, yeah, just sort of like consolation from me as a dad haver. Having a dad is not like I wouldn't mind not having a dad, maybe. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I still have a dad. Like, maybe he's dead, I don't know. Actually, his parents, like my grandma and my granddad, I also don't have contact to them. Funnily enough, they broke contact up to me because I broke contact off with my dad. So I don't even want to know what he told them, but he definitely told them something. And apparently their loyalty is with their fucked up son and not with me. Where I think, like, wow, thank you. It's not like I was a child or something. Like, come on, guys. Um, but yeah, I think they are around age of death, you know? But yeah. I really wonder if I will know. Like, will I find out? But, like, how would I find out? Like, I always feel like, well, I guess I'm gonna find out, like, somehow, right? But, like, how? I don't think I will. I don't think I will. Exactly. They would would they try to contact me even if I'm living outside of the country? Like, is that a thing? But I don't know if they would give me anything. I don't think they would. They're petty as hell. So. So they would contact me. Okay, that's good to know. Maybe I'll get a house someday. Who knows? But I don't think I will. I don't know. Nah, I don't think anybody's gonna contact me about anything. I think they're petty enough. Even though I would take very good care of that house, actually. Your whole PC just crashed. Hard crashed. Oof. Damn. What are you working on again? But yeah, honestly, it's like, to me, it's really, it was like a hard gained knowledge to get to the conclusion, or like to really get to the conclusion. And I still sometimes struggle with that conclusion, actually, that like my dad and having a dad are different things. Having a dad is the idea of having a good dad, having a good parent, having that dad from movies. Having my dad is not that. And it honestly, it's like I was angry because of that a lot of times. Because I felt like that's so unfair. Like, why does my dad not love me? Why does my dad not treat me like the dad in movies? Like, how is it fair that I get a parent which neglects me like this? And because everybody treats it like it's not like a good person trait, but it's just like a natural thing. Like, everybody treats it like biologically, your dad will treat you like this nice dad from movies. And if he doesn't, then it's sort of like he doesn't love you, or like then sort of it's something wrong with you as a child. Or at least that's like how your logic as a child works, like, right? Because you try to look for the conclusion and you're like stupid. So you think like, oh, it must be because of me, right? Like, that kid is like a good kid and he has a good dad. So if I'm a good kid, I will have a good dad. And then it sort of just doesn't work that way. And it's like, it's really sucky, but it's like really important to see that your dad is your dad, and he's never going to be that person from the movies. He's maybe going to be his version of a good dad, but he might also be his entire life a shitty dad. And if you break contact off with him, you don't break contact with the idea of having a good dad. But you realize that the idea of having a good dad is different to having your dad. And I don't know, that's just really it's a tough thing, I think. And yeah, I still grieve at not having a good dad. I would have really liked to have a good dad. Wait, a child gets something for sure? No way. Yeah, also for grandparents though. Nah, right? I feel that somewhere. I know who he is, but he never wanted to meet me. So for a long time, I felt like I'm the problem. Yeah. It's like, I feel like we should teach way more about how much effort and work and money, and also how much issues having a child can cost. Like, for one, the pregnancy, and then raising the kid, actually, in our society. I think we should be actually straight about the efforts it takes. And that would be negative. It would sound absolutely negative. But I don't think it would be negative, because as like a young couple, if you actually want a child, you're gonna look at all of these things and you're gonna be like, but I will do it. But I will do it. Because that's how I decide if I want a dog or not. Like, I have specifically this about a dog. Like, so many people told me, like, oh, but like, you need to go out 3 times a day. Oh, but you need to do this. You need to blah, 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 blah. But with all of these things, except picking up the poop, like, that's a thing like Zach is gonna do, and I'm gonna go to the no poop having to take away forests. But I'm gonna get used to that too. But like, apart from this, like, everything on there, I'm like, yeah, and I will do it. I don't mind, actually. Going outside every day, yes. It's good for me, I will do it. Playing with the dog, if I maybe don't want to play in that moment, but like the dog comes up to me with a toy, I think I will do it. Like, maybe not always, because like, I'm still the man of the house. But like, I will appreciate my dog stopping me from being at the PC for like 6 hours straight. Like, I'm gonna appreciate my dog making going outside fun because he's excited, and I'm gonna look at him being excited, and I'm gonna be excited myself. I'm gonna appreciate my dog pulling me into the present instead of thinking about what I have to do and what I should be doing and all of these things. Like, all of the things you need to do for a dog, like giving that guidance, being there, understanding that animal, trying to like work together with it, I think it's gonna offer me so much wisdom. And I think I'm gonna love a dog. Like, there's like all these negative things people say to me, and I still know that I want a dog for sure. I don't take it easy. I know how much work it is. But with a child, we expect that if we say the truth to people, people wouldn't get children anymore. We're scared that people wouldn't get children if they knew what a child actually means. And that we then decide and come to the conclusion, okay, then we not tell people the actual truth about the effort of children is so fucked up. Because what you mean in that moment is that you don't tell somebody how much effort a child, a human, is gonna be, then to get them to go up, like, do that procedure, get that child, to then be disappointed, and later, when they can't go back, find out that it might have been too much work, that if they would have known that, they wouldn't have done it. Then they know, when they got the child, that's our approach to this. Do we not see how fucked up and unfair that is for the child? Like, I would have loved my dad to know what it means to have a child. And if that would have meant that I don't exist, I don't, yeah, okay, what now? What then? Like, yes. But I also don't believe that this, like, I didn't, like, either I existed before as a soul, and then I would have just been the child of a family which actually wanted me. Or I didn't exist before as a soul, and then I don't really need to bother anyway with that thought, because I wouldn't have existed. Like, who fucking cares, you know? Like, this whole perception of like, oh, but your struggles make you stronger and stuff like this is so fucked up, bro. Like, we're really like, we just dig our own graves, like, per usual. And I don't know why we do it, because it's like just so unnecessary. But yeah. With a dog, you have to go out 3 times a day. With a kid, you have to be there physically and emotionally every second of the day. But no one questions the decision of getting a child. Yeah. 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 Exactly this. It's just It's just, yeah, like the right people would still get children, and the wrong people would not, and would actually be happy themselves. And we don't even know if they would never get children. Like maybe they would just get children like 2 years later, right? Like with today's medicine and everything, we can get children like way later on still. So, and like honestly, like we already have too many humans on this planet, right? Like why are we so obsessed with children anyways? Like I don't know. I don't really understand why we go through that trouble. Like why we believe that this honesty and that matter makes any sense. And it's honestly sort of just sad because you can't even be mad at your parents for not knowing. You can't even be mad at your parents. Like you, of course, you can be mad and you should be mad, and it's a very important stage of grief, right? But like now that I've read this book, like I'm just like I can't even be mad at them for neglecting me because nobody fucking told them that it's like that important, that this would influence me that much. And like honestly, there's also it's not like a direct consequence, right? Like there's so many people go through trauma and traumatic experiences and don't get PTSD. Who are fine afterwards. And the funny thing is that actually what we learn is that it doesn't really matter what you live through, but it matters how you deal with it. Like if you can deal with it, if you have like a social circle, if you have like if you can speak about your feelings, if you suppress them or repress them, or if you like think about them and journal and like really like live them, you know? And so like honestly, it wouldn't even be like every child is gonna have some type of like neglect in their childhood, I think. Like no parent can give everything to their child. But if we would care to actually understand how important childhood is and how we influence our children, I think we would go about parenting way differently. I think we would go about parenting with the sense of you can always talk to me about everything. And you have some therapist appointments along your life, your entire life. And if you ever decide that you want more, then like it's maybe it's just like 2 every year or something, you know? And then if you decide you want more at your therapist's appointment, then you get more. And that you have friends and that we don't share to our child our expectations of how life should look and how you should live life, but that we would share the knowledge of the wisdom of why we chose to live life that way, of why we believe that this is the best way. And then we let the child choose on their own. And then we let the child discuss to us why they maybe choose differently. And then we could learn from our children because actually, I think in our society right now, we could learn so much from our children. We could learn so much because our children are way more connected to their body and to nature than us. We're in tech, we're like available the entire time. We're like borderline like passing out from the stress the entire time. We have so many people complaining about depression, chronic stress, chronic just pain. We have so many issues. And if we would just listen to children a little bit more, I think we could gain so much wisdom from that actually. And because they could bring us to our roots. And I think that's also honestly what we kind of love about children, that they actually do remind us how it was to be a child, that they do remind us of the inner child within us. They do remind us of the needs we as a child had. But instead of projecting that onto them and abusing them to sort of like to heal our inner child, we could instead just be aware of that and care for ourselves while caring for them. But yeah. I feel like it would be so useful. I personally always knew I wanted kids, and I still do. But when I was a teen and I wanted to be a young mom at 22 or something, and now I'm turning 26 and don't have kids yet, I prioritize my mental health first. So I'm really ready for a kid and take properly care of it, be emotionally available, and so on. Yeah. A young mom in 22. That's an idea not many people have. That's a unique idea. Is it okay to ask you why you like had that ideal or like that idea in your head? Because usually, like, to me, it was very shameful to be a young mom. Like, I always learned, like, basically, like, who cares about consent but don't get pregnant? That's what I learned. And so to me, it was like being a young mom was like always very shameful and with very much shame connected. And it was only sort of like later on that I even learned that it can be okay. Um, and that you can like sort of like handle it. But I'm still like, honestly, it was like after that possibility was even still available. So, yeah. But I think it's really good to prioritize your own mental health. I think it's really good to, honestly, like with any relationship, I think before having kids, you should always be happy on your own. I think that's also really nice as like a relationship guidance. Like before you marry, you should, or like before you meet other people, you should be at a point where you are a happy person on your own. Like where you don't need anybody to fill a gap or anything. Because that means you're dependent on somebody else being there, right? And I think some people are like maybe like a little slightly bit obsessed that their child is gonna fix them. Like that it's like, oh, there's this huge gap and I need like a child to like fix it. And I think it's like really interesting to, as such a person, get to the point where you actually feel happy on your own and then get a child, because then you really know who you are and you know your needs and you can fill them without like you can be a parent without you needing a very specific child. Like your child doesn't need to be anything. Your child has no expectations on their performance or the help they can offer. And I feel like only then maybe, or like maybe only then you're actually able to give your child like this just endless love without any expectations. And I feel like we have that issue with like a lot of relationships as well today, because there's like, I more often hear this from men, but this is not like it's not based on gender, but I think it's more that men more often come in this situation on being of that standpoint, that they don't feel happy alone and that they need a woman to like fix their life, type of like to not feel lonely, for example, to feel cared for, to feel emotionally stable, to feel like they can regulate their emotion, to feel safe. I feel like a lot of men actually are dependent on women in that way. And in that book I'm reading, the theory is that it evolves around the mum, actually, that the mum is living in a sexist world and has this tiny boy at her disposal, kind of. And she can raise that boy in a position of dependency where that boy isn't independent but remains dependent on her, and that dependency gives her power basically over that child, so she can make sure that she's never abused from that boy, because that boy is dependent on her, and she can always like take that love away from him, and then she knows he's gonna like bend to her will basically and respect her. So that's sort of like the theory in this book. And I think like it might be true in like some cases, definitely. I don't know if in all cases, but I definitely understand how this sort of like hidden agenda is maybe a thing if you like if you are a woman who's like sort of scared of like sexism, and then you raise a boy and that you want to maintain the power in that relationship. But yeah, that's how they then grow up to basically need a mom after moving out of their home, because their mom always kept them dependent. And that's how you basically a lot of times even have this like very comical story of this guy who's like already moved out but like still coming home for his mom to like wash his clothes or like make food and stuff like this, and like is being like still taken care of by that mom of his, instead of like, even though he already like moved out, is already dating and all of this stuff. And then like once he finds a woman, he's like switching from his mom to that woman to take care of him. And if there's like a gap and his mom breaks like is gone maybe, or can't take care of him anymore, or there's not enough care, then well, he's just left there with being dependent, never having learned how to take care of himself in these very specific ways. And that's like really. And then anger is one of the most accepted emotions as a man, right? And like resentment and revenge and these kind of things. Yeah, and then aggression takes over. So it's like, this is not like an excuse, of course, but I think we do need to realize which patterns we form in our society. And this was like a very interesting pattern I read in the book, because at the beginning I was never really a fan of this idea of like, oh yeah, okay, so now it's women's fault again. Like, oh, come on. And well, I don't think it's like the mom's fault in, well, it's like a complicated issue, right? Because parents do have special responsibility over their children, I think. Because you are in this special position where your child actually is dependent on you at the beginning. And you, as the parent, even though this feels nice having something or someone be dependent on you, need at some point raise your child to be independent. And I feel like it's very easy to want to remain in these like first few years of your child and not want your child to actually get independent and not need you anymore. Welcome back, Naradim, by the way. Sorry, I never said it before. And it has actually been proven that middle-aged men are unhappier than women when they are single. It not only has been proven that middle-aged men are unhappier when they are single, it has been proven that women are happier if they are single, because they have to take care of men in relationships, and that the people who are happier in the relationships, on average, are definitely more men than women. Which also underlines the point that men actually are dependent on women. Even though sexism and this whole hate concept is there, they are dependent on women. And it's like a really, really weird concept, honestly, I think. Because we could learn from each other, right? Like there could be like, you could notice, oh, I'm dependent of that person. Like let me ask them as a teacher of how they do that, because I'm dependent of them to do this for me. So they know I don't know. I could learn from them how to do it. But sexism is really keeping us from that perspective, I think. And also this whole thing about gender, like what is manly and what is like yeah, feminine. It's like it's keeping us from this.
苦手な人物が何年も隣にいる場合、しかもそれがベランダ越し数十センチの距離だったりすると、数学はこれでよしと。あとは世界史の予習だな。今何か変なものが。なんだこの落書きは。
俺は2年 SS 組、雪村修二君。抱かれたい男ナンバーワンは1年 I 組の東雲くんでーす。
こんなアホな落書きをするバカは。東雲！それは時に人生を狂わせる。
ドラマティック CD コレクション、桜がメイ原作。
恋じゃないけど。お前、人の教科書。珍しく部屋のカーテン閉めてると思えば、チャラチャラした格好のやつばっか。不良仲間のたまり場か、ここは。
おー、ゆきちゃん。
お前。
あ、その教科書見たんだ。ゆきちゃんの似顔絵そっくりだろ。傑作。
お前の頭の中の雪村くんとやらは一体どうなってんだ？
嫌だな、ゆきちゃん。ジョークじゃん、ジョーク。つうか、今瓶の口がどっか飛んでったぞ。
ジョークで済むか、ジョークで。
グルジ、ゆきちゃん、ギブ。雪村って、雪村？一個上で、東雲がよくつるんでたっつー。じゃあ何？ベランダから入ってきたってことは、隣に住んでるってことか？なんで言わねえんだよ！なんで言わないかんのよ。
ちょっと待て！俺のことを知ってるのか？
当然っすよ！俺ら、同じ学校だったんすよ！な！
ああ。
雪村さんといえば、当時とんでもなく荒れてた西中に正面から乗り込んで、トップ締めたっつう伝説が。
何か？お前らまだやるか？
すんません。イエーイ！これで西中制圧完了！あれな。懐かしい。俺に売られた喧嘩をゆきちゃんが買っちまったんだよな。
おい！こいつら、人のお点をベラベラと。
そういえば、昔クラスのみんながそんな話してたかも。ちょっと悪そうな男子とか。
そうそう。腕っぷし強えのにやけに綺麗な顔してっから余計噂になってさ。
おい、長谷川。
でもなんか雰囲気変わったっすね。
変わった？当然だ。変えたんだよ。高校に上がる前、真面目に見えるようにコンタクトをやめてメガネにして。顔はなるべく隠したい。よし。この秀才風メガネをかければ完璧だ。身の回りを清算し、比較的真面目な奴とだけ付き合っていこうと決めて、努力の甲斐あって完璧に変わったつもりだったのに。
ゆきちゃん、悪い。
そうだ。しばらく距離を置いてたから忘れかけてたが、こいつは今も交友関係広いままで、昔の仲間とつるんでるんだった。東雲との間に、一時は壁を築くのに成功した。でもあの男は、昔の俺の素行不良な写真をネタに、その壁をぶち壊してきやがった。だから。
ゆきちゃん、もう寝てんの？
現在こんな状況に至っているわけで。
ふて寝してんの？
ふて寝？生意気な口を。
よいしょった。
何やってんだお前は！
ご機嫌伺い。
機嫌なら悪いよ、帰れ！
まあまあ。
どけ、この、バカ力！
拳の速さじゃ負けるが、純粋な力比べなら、俺が上だぜ。
こんな、甘いわ！
膝蹴りは、反則。
やばかった。 入江、だらしないぞ。
すいません。
あと5分で切り上げるが、ここから先は遅刻だ。氏名を確認して通すね。
はい。副会長はいつもしっかりしてるというか、すごいですね。何かコツとかあるんですか？
俺は生徒会の仕事が好きだからな。別に特別なことは何もない。塀によじ登ってるそこの一年降りろ。毎度毎度懲りないな、黄色頭。一度痛い目見るか。
足引っ張んな。危ねえ。落ちるだろ。手離せ。
ならおとなしく遅刻者リストに乗れ。
なんだよ。この時間はまだ担任だって来ねえんだぞ。
先生にバレなきゃ遅刻してもいいってその根性が気に食わん。
とわ、ゆき、おはよう。会長、遅刻です。
おい、ミカド、生徒会長が遅刻するな。
いやん、今朝は夢見が良すぎてつい二度寝を。とは降りられる？ほらおいで。
ああ。夢って富士高なすびのサンセットでも見たのか？
うん。とはがコスプレして俺を誘うんだよ。
え？
はあ、もういい、さっさと行け。二度目はないからな。いいか。
ほんと生き生きしてるよな、副会長。素敵だな。入江。
そろそろ引き上げるぞ。
はい。
もう少しここで時間潰すかな。
まだ帰んねえの？
お前、
へへ。
図書室に用事なわけないよな。こいつわざと足を絡めてきやがって。
あれ、どこ行くの？ゆきちゃん。
って話せ。
最近帰んの遅いね。特別な用があるようには見えねえけど、何か帰りたくねえ理由でも？
どうでもいいだろ。くそ、下手な返しになった。昔からこいつだけは。
ああ、俺のせい。
うまくあしらえない。
隣に俺がずっといるから。
違う。
帰ろうぜ。な、ゆきちゃん。
もう分かったから離れろ。おい、
ゆきちゃん。
帰るんだろうか。言ってること違うぞ。
じゃ、帰ろ。
危なかった。耳なんか舐めやがって。日に日に東雲のペースに飲まれてきている気がする。
ああ、最近触らしてくんねえんだもんな。
外で妙な発言するな。
いつまでも振り向いてくんねえし。
他へ行けばいい。この前の奴らとか女の知り合いたくさんいるんだろうか。
ま、そういう手もあんね。
こいつ。そうか。なら早くよそへ行け。いいか、これだけは言っとく。俺は昔からお前が世界で一番お前が苦手だ。
苦手ね。あの人、自分で墓穴を折ってることに気づかないのかね。いいや。おーい、ゆきちゃん。おーいって、先行くなってば。
うるさい。
副会長、これ昨日までの1週間の遅刻者リストです。
ああ。遅刻するメンバーは大抵同じか。こういうやつに限って帰るときはさっさと帰りそうだな。
あ、そうだ。帰る時で思い出したんですけど、昨日の下校時間に門の近くに男がずっといたって女子が言ってたんですよね。
特定の女子を待ち伏せでもしてるのか？
多分、そんなとこじゃないかと。
でも、ずっと立ってられるのは迷惑な話だな。怖がる生徒もいたんじゃないか。
そうだな。その男は毎日出るのか？
ああ、いえ。今のところ昨日見たってだけらしいです。
そうか。じゃあもしまた目撃情報があれば念のため張り込んでみるか。
張り込む？
妙な奴だったらどうする？
まあ万が一の話だ。
あ、張り込みの件、他の役員にも知らせときますか？
ああ、でも強制はしなくていいぞ。これは俺一人でも問題ない。
おっと。
東雲。なんだ、何か用か？
ああ、用ってほどじゃねえけど。つうか、聞こえちゃったんだけど。何？張り込みって。そういうのは警察に任せときゃいいじゃん。
別にお前にやれなんて言わないから安心しろ。
いや、そうじゃなく。
お前は寄り道せずまっすぐ帰る。いいな。
またガキ扱いか。でも、そういう態度は逆効果だぜ。
ない。教科書がない。あいつの部屋だ。あんまり入りたくないんだが仕方ない。東雲、この間世界史の教科書を置き忘れて。こいつらまだいるのか。食いかけとそのゴミばっかじゃないか。自堕落な。おい東雲、こいつ女二人とベッドで。起きろ色ボケ。
せめえな、も
いや
おい、お前が落書きした教科書がここにあるだろ。どこだ？
どっかその辺、足元とかにあんだろ。持ってっていいぜ。
なんだその態度。
ここまではいいかな。では次、雪村くん。180ページから読んでください。
はい。180ページ。180。東雲の空だと。いや、読みたくない。どうしたんだろう。東雲の空が。東雲って振り仮名振ってあるのに。
なんだ、その無茶な間違い方。
おい、知らねえ。今日雪村は変だな。どうしたんだ？
あのバカの節操なしが。
節操？
気にするな。生徒会で今、面倒事を抱えてるんだ。
そうなのか。
あいつめ。他へ行けばいい。ああ、確かに俺が言ったよ。だがな、あの変わり身の速さはどうだよ。
両手に腹。
ムカつく。その辺の女でいいなら最初から俺に言い寄るな。
ユキ、
あ、
例の張り込みの件だが、一年たちがお前を手伝いたいと言ってたぞ。今日からでもと。
今日から？でもまだ不審者が確定していない。いや、どうせ早く帰ったってあのバカの顔を見るだけだし不都合はないか。わかった。一年には俺から連絡しておく。
今日は特に妙なやつはいませんね。
そうだな。
姿が見えないと対処しようがないですよね。
そうだな。
なんか今日はいつにも増して威圧感ないか。あ、
明日は今日みたく正門じゃなくて、離れた場所から見守ってみましょうか。
何やってんの？学校終わったら、早く帰んなきゃダメでしょ。ん？お。じゃあ、俺も参加しよっかな。
は？
俺がついてりゃ心強いっしょ。
は？お前のどこが？こいつ、何が狙いだ？
はは、まったまた。ほら、昔は二人で他校に乗り込んで制圧した。
え、制圧って。
来い。
おや？
お前な、何のつもりだよ。
だからさ、俺にもやらしてよ。ゆきちゃんのことだから2、3日は警戒するつもりなんだろ。な、俺も参加させて。ね。
品を作るな。この野郎、女に貢がせるのうまそうだな。軽いというかなんというか。ほんといい加減な。なんでだよ。警察に任せろとか言ってたくせに、そんな急にやりたがるなんて変だろ。こいつのことだから、どうせ面白がってるんだろうけど。
はあ、面倒事にばっか首突っ込んで。心配だからに決まってんだろ。昔から。
え？
何？それとも、俺に言わせたくて、わざととぼけてんの？
違う！
ああ、そんじゃ、俺が嫌がらせしてると思ってたんだ。ひって、傷ついちゃったな。
そういうつもりじゃなくて。悪かった。なんだよ、そのまま。
押し倒して、やったろうかなってま。
バカか、こんなやつ。なぜ、振り払ってやりたいに。
なんて、さすがに外じゃこんくらいかな。
俺とこんなことして、どこが楽しいんだか。
自分を知らないってのは罪だね。
何？
凛とした顔が歪む瞬間ってさ、最高にそそるんだぜ。
バカにしてんのか！所詮、こういう男だよ。甘く出たって、つけ上がらせるだけだ。何？手離せ！振り回されるだけ。俺は未だに、てめえ。何す、こいつの本心なんて。
ゆきちゃんね、煽るような顔してっから悪いんだよ。
はあ？俺が、なんだって。
ああ、自覚してねえんだ。
俺は、
いた！
副会長！
例の男かはわかりませんけど、なんか男が一人来ましたよ！
そうか。今行く。
待ってください。その前に、副会長って今日待ち合わせとかしてました？
いや、どうしてだ？
だって、なあ、入江。
あ
なんだ？
そいつが、副会長はまだいるかって聞いてきて、なんか怪しかったから帰ったって言っておきましたけど。
何？俺？どんな奴だ？
案内しろてめえこら。早くしろ！
待ってってば！
言ったってもういないのに。
どういうことだ、イリュウ？
俺、一応そいつを引き止めたんですけど、思いっきり腕払われちゃって。
どこだ？
どこって、その辺で入江と揉み合って。
ん？ビーズの玉？ブレスレットか、ネックレスの。
ところで、本当に、東雲も参加させるんですか？
名前が出ると、落ち着かない。あいつは、
心配だからに決まってんだろ。
強引なやつだから。
そうですか。
冷静になれない。
じゃあ、さっきのも、東雲に強引にされたんですよね、副会長。
さっきって、どんどんひどくなる。
あいつ、東雲って何なんですか？まさか、普段から副会長にあんな無理強いを。
あ、まずい。あれは。
はい。
あいつは、よくああいう冗談を仕掛けてくるやつなんだ。
冗談？からかいの類ですか？
そうだ。
冗談で男にキスですか？
そうだ。経験豊かな人間はそれくらいでは動じないのだ。ああ、そんなわけがあるか。どんな人間だそれは。
じゃあ、俺ともできますか？それなら信用します。
何？
さあ、冗談だと思って、どうぞ。
なぜノリノリなんだ、入江。どうして俺がこんな真似を。
どうぞ。
いや、いくらなんでも。やっぱ無理だ。
副会長。
殺すぞ。
言ってることがさっきと違う。東雲の時は殴らなかったのに、ひどいっす。
くそ。悪かった。でも、あいつらが待ってるから、そろそろ行かないと。
はい。
ゆきちゃん。
東雲の時は殴らなかったのに。
違う。俺はこいつのことは苦手なんだ。本当に。
とりあえず今日は帰って、明日場所変えてやんね。
誰よりこの世のどんな最悪な奴らより。
ゆきちゃん？
でもそれは、その分だけ特別な位置にいる。ということでもあり。
ゆきちゃん。なんかさっきからこの辺うろうろしてっけど、俺に用事？
昨日、お前が参加するって言うから。って、気づいてたならさっさと顔を出せ。
迎えに来てくれたわけね。それならね、いいところ見つけたぜ。門が見えて人が来ねえ場所。第二備品室。な、うってつけだろ？
多分、怖いんだ、俺は。キスどころか、体まで許してしまっていて、これ以上は自分がどう変わってしまうかわからないから。
だから、そこでなら、昨日のキスの続きもできる。
淫乱副会長。
淫乱？
はあ？失礼だな、てめえは。感度が良すぎるイコール淫乱とは限んねえんだよ。
何言ってんだ、お前は。
は
はいか。お前とんでもねえこと言うんじゃねえよ。
いつも言ってることじゃん。なんで今日に限って怒んだよ。
もしかしてお前さ、陰険と間違えてねえか？
俺そう言わなかったっけ？
いや、はっきりと淫乱って言ってたが。
この、アホガキ。でもなんだ、この後ろめたさは。
今んとこ、門の前には誰も来てねえな。やっぱ昨日のやつだったんかね。不審者ってさ。ゆきちゃん。
ダメだ。あれ以来、変に東雲の唇ばかり気になって。
副会長。
いや、あれは違う。
なーにゆきちゃん、さっきから。唇ばっか見られてる気がすんのは、気のせいかな。
気のせいだろ。
だってずっと視線感じてたし、そんなに見つめられると、誘われてんのかと思うじゃん。
そんなわけないだろ。いいから外見てろよ。お前、何してんだ？
最近、二人でいること少なかったし。 このカビくせえ部屋とユキちゃんがミスマッチで溜まってんのかな。俺させてもらってねえから。
そういうことしか考えらんないのか。最悪。
考えらんねえよって言ったらどうにかしてくれんのかな。なんとかしてよユキちゃん。
なんとかってふざけんなよ。そんな俺にどうしろって。
なんか本人目の前にしてやんのもまた一挙っつか。
黙れ
ユキちゃん、こっち向けて。ユキちゃん、ユキ
シチ。手離せ。
動かして。
やめろ。やだ。やめ。嘘だろ。どうして俺が東雲の。
すげえ。
なんで信じられない。
何そのエロい反応。わざとやってんの？
チーク。どうしてこんな風に反応してしまうんだ俺。
やべえ、それ舐めて俺のがついた指。ユキちゃん、こっち向いてキス。
副会長。
ユキちゃん。
いや。
また我慢しねえで声出せばいいのに。
うるさい。畜生。
ユキちゃん、
苦しい。
今日部屋行くから。ほら昨日の件があるし、マジでユキちゃん狙いのやつなら用心した方がいいだろな。
ああ、なんだ。
あ、俺んちの方がいいかな。
え？
はい、コーヒーのおかわり。
おい、
ん？
いつまでここにいればいいんだ？
男捕まえるまでかな。今うちの親親戚ん家行ってっから、遠慮なさらず。朝もこっから出るといいよ。
そうじゃなくて、落ち着かない。こんな大げさな。
ゆきちゃん、過去にどんな目に遭ってきたか忘れてねえよな。電車の中では、前から後ろから横からの痴漢三つどもえにあったり、女の子にまで。
雪村くんは、ボタンをきっちり止めてるところが逆にエッチっぽいのよ。ね
とか言われたんだろ。そんで、独学で護身術とかやって、しまいにはグレちゃって。その名残で、今も学ランの前は開けっぱなし。舌用心しろよ、頼むから。
あれは、まだ線が細かった頃で。
今だって変わんねえよ。ほら、なんだっけ？校舎裏に来たあの役員、入江だっけ？あいつとかは絶対怪しいって。ん？ゆきちゃんさ、なんかあったろ？変だぜ最近。
なんかって。
そういやあん時校舎裏で、俺がもう一人の役員とあの場所離れて、しばらくあいつと二人だけになったよな。襲われちったもしかして。
わけあるか！何もない！
嘘だね。その態度は絶対なんかあったでしょう。言ってみ。
なんなんだよお前。笑ったりして。なんでそんなに軽いんだ。俺があいつと何かあったって言っても、 そうやって笑うのか。ふん。というか、どうして俺が東雲の反応を伺う必要がある。された。キスならされた。
ほらな。やっぱりそうじゃん。
東雲。
ゆきちゃんはね、周りをもっと警戒してさ、自分がどう思われてんのか知った方がいいぜ。そんなんじゃ、返せない方向で決まり、だな。
さっきの軽い態度の後で、ずるいだろ、お前。
覚悟して。
やめろ。こんなことするなら、帰るぞ。東雲。やめ。
言ってることとやってることが違うよ。やめろって言いながら俺にしがみつく。最近のゆきちゃんは理性で自分を無理に押さえつけようとしてる感じ。
押さえつける。そんなこと。
ああ。
何考えてんだこいつは。こんな状況なのに。おい、なんで今出るんだよ。
今うちでゆきちゃんと一緒。
は？
ああ、そう。
誰と話してるんだ。俺の知ってるやつか。
わかった。じゃ、後でな。ああ、これでいいや。
縄跳び。なんだよって話せ。なんだこいつは。
とりあえずベッドの足でいいかな。これね、結構丈夫なジャンプロープだから力任せに引きちぎろうとしちゃダメだぜ。な、よし、できた。
おい、なんで俺はベッドの足に手を縛り付けられてんだよ。
じゃあ俺はちょっと出てくっけど、ゆきちゃんはここにいてね。
は？
この前うちに泊まりに来たやつの一人、ゆきちゃんもあったろ。なんか近くまで来てっけど財布落としたとか言ってんだわ。アホだね。
そんなこと聞いてんじゃなくて、出るって今かよ。だいたい用心のために一緒にって言い出したのはお前の方じゃ。
俺が戻るまで逃げたらダメだからな。
待て。
がっついてんじゃねえっつの俺。こんなんだからガキ扱いされんだよ。今はそんな場合でもねえしな。
信じられない。あいつ本当に置いていきやがった。中途半端に脱がされた上に縛られて、俺も何おとなしく言われた通りにしてんだか。
理性で自分を無理に押さえつけようとしてる感じ。
くっそ、あのバカ、偉そうに。俺だって分かってる。けど俺は一度タガが外れると自分の舵が取れなくなるたちだから。だから今の状態はまずい。本当に。あいつ戻ってきたか。人をこんな状態で放置しやがって。東雲？ん？なんか変だな。足音が軽い。あいつならもっとドカドカと。親とか。
うちの親親戚んち行ってっから。
あ、いや違う。おい、じゃあ誰だよ。
門の近くに男がずーっと。副会長はまだいるかって聞いてきて。
いや、まさか。ここは東雲の家だし、そんなわけ。
おい。
東雲？おい！くそ、動けない。何なんだよ一体。
これ学校の門の前に落ちてた。うちに来た時もしてたよな、長谷川。 こんな玉のネックレス。
やっと外せた。手こずらせやがって。ざまあ見ろ。なんじゃくロープめ。
あれ、おいおい、何やってんの？力ずくで外しちゃダメって言っただろ。
そんなことより、何があった？今廊下に誰かいたろ。
いいよ。誰もいねえよ。
嘘言うな。誰かと揉めてただろ。お前、怪我は？
ゆきちゃん。大丈夫。ゆきちゃんが心配するようなことは、もう何もねえからさ。な。
だって、お前、こいつ。
ったく。ちょっとごめんな。電話してる間、耳塞ぐ。
え？
おう。
何すんだ？耳から抜け！誰からの電話だ！
おう、東雲。
さっさと帰れ、長谷川。
抜け、こら！
お前さ、電話で騙されたふりして、俺が来んの家で待ってたわけか？
おい、東雲！
お前の学校のやつに気に入ってたネックレス引きちぎられるし、大失敗だな、もう。なんなのよ、あのしつけえやつ。
入江だな。なんでこの人の周りうろうろしてたの、おめえ。
ほら、いい加減にしろ！
俺もさ、マジで昔憧れてたんだよね。そんで、ちょっとお近づきになれりゃ、なんてさ。
東雲！
なのに、いっつもお前が一緒で近寄りがたいみてえな。
いい加減に離せ！やった、抜けた。
この人、俺のだから。
は？
お前、何を、意味わかんないこと言って。
意味は分かってくんないと困るんだけど。
わかるか。人をこんな格好で放置していくやつのことなんか、やばい。
ん？あ、そうだった。俺が縛っちゃったんだったね。こんなエロい格好で置いてっちゃって。ごめんな。
黙れ、バカ！ダメだ。見るなよ。ダメだ。見るな！やめろって。
服の上から少しなぞっただけだぜ。
そういうことじゃなくて、もう、お前が原因のくせに恥ずかしい。お前といると、俺は不安定で、自分が自分じゃなくなる感じがして、年下相手に、こんな、今だって、怖くて。なんで、俺。
ゆきちゃん、俺と付き合おうよ。
え？
な。
付き合う？ちょっと、待て。何？体に力が、入らない。
ゆきちゃん、俺たち、もう何度キスしたと思ってんの？
東雲といると、乱されてしまう自分が嫌だった。なのに、こいつが俺を見ないと気に食わなくて、そんな自分がとても腹立たしくて。
ゆきちゃん。
ハマったりなんかするものかと、ずっと。
ゆきちゃん、ここ俺のもしてくんね？舐めてくれよ。
そんなこと。
ダメ？
畜生。甘えるなよ。電気消してくれ。
オッケー。これでいい？
ベッドに座れ。
はい。 んなこの世の終わりみてえな顔されっと、すっげえかわいそうになってくんだけど。
しょうがないだろ。こんなの、したことないんだから。
無理ならいいよ。
無理じゃ、ない。会うってのは、付き合うってのは、こういうこと、するもんなんだろ。だから、平気だ。
ゆきちゃん。
熱い。どんどんひどくなってくる。まるで、全身何か一つの器官みたいに、東雲に反応して。いつから、いつの間に俺は、
ゆきちゃん、
こんなに。
俺の舐めるのがそんなに感じる。そろそろ話してくんねえと汚れちゃうぜ。あんたほんとかわいいな。
何？
ゆきちゃん、せめえな、もう。
ここは嫌だ。お前、女と寝てた。このベッドで。
気にしてくれてたんだ。あれはね、違うよ。あの日はあいつらを客間に案内してから寝たのに。女と同じ部屋で寝るわけにいかねえだろ。
一緒でいいのに。
朝起きたらなぜかベッドにいたんだよ。すっげえ狭かったっつうの。おい、おめえらいい加減起きろよ。
いや
焼いてくれんのは嬉しいけど、ただそれだけだぜ。たまんねえ
バカ。それをこすりつけるな。
俺はゆきちゃんしか見てねえから。中すげえ。やらしいからだ。こういう時ばっか素直になってさ。
バカ。
その言い方も好きって聞こえる。俺の願望かな。
バカ。認めたくなかった。
くそ、かわいいな、チキシャ。
認めたらきっと俺は溺れてしまう。
深い。死ぬのめ。
無意識に名前呼ぶのやめてくれる？すげえ来るから。
死ぬのめ。
求められると
もう無理。持たない。
どこかで安心すらする自分がいて。
いいぜ、我慢なんかすんなよ。
結局俺は
俺も何度だって抱いてやる。
お前にこうされたかったんじゃないか。
腰って。
うわ、中から東 東雲のが出てくる。足に力、
おはよう。大丈夫？
ああ。
学校行く気？
そりゃ。
たく、真面目だな。じゃ、俺がゆきちゃんの部屋まで運んであげる。よっお姫様抱っこ。
おろせって。
ダメ。
おろせ、東雲。
一人でシャワー行ける？俺も行こうか。
アホ、お前も戻って、早く着替えろ。
なんか今、こっちチラッと。けどおかしいな。手加減したつもりだったんだけどな。あ、ゆきちゃんの携帯か。あ、あの野郎にも警告しとかねえとな。旦那として。あの人、ちゃんと家出たかな。あれ？
遅い。
俺のことを待ってたの？なのは初めてじゃん。なんで？
なんでって。不審者を捕まえるまで、俺もそばにいるんだろ、お前。
いや、でもほら、それはもう昨日。
捕まえてないし、まだ、だから。
おいおい。ああ、そうだよな。ごめんな。俺あと一歩で逃がしちまってさ。なんつう不器用っぷりだよ、この人は。ってわけで、捕まえるまで一緒に登校しようぜ。な。
いいけど。
じゃ、決まり、行こうぜ。
おう。
多分、この人のことだから、付き合ったら一緒に登校するもんだ、とか思って待ってたんだろうけど。あんたそんなんでうまくやれたとでも思ってんの？その得意げな顔はなんだ？笑った。はにかんでねえか、おい。たまらん。
笑顔が気持ち悪い。
ひでえな、もう。
やっぱり先に行く。
何言ってんの？一緒に学校行くんでしょ？
やっぱりやめる。強がったって隠せない。
おーい。
奴は俺の心を笑って見透かす天才だ。
まあ行くか。追いかけるのは慣れてるしな。
バカ。
あ、それって東雲愛してるハートって意味だろ？
バカ。まあ嫌な気はしないけど。
忘れ物はなしっと。そろそろ行くか。メール？あ、副会長からだ。犯人はすでに俺様の愛する
ダーリン、東雲が退治したぜ。今度妙な真似しやがったらダーリンが黙ってねえかんな。東雲ラブな雪村様より。
嘘だ。副会長！
おまけ。
恋じゃないなら？
何の用だよ、長谷川。
だから謝ってんじゃねえかよ。機嫌直せって。
あ？
いや、まさかお前が雪村さんにマジになってるとは思わねえもんよ。ほら、お前って昔から女に不自由したことなかったか？
ゲホン。聞こえねえな。
わかったよ。今度おごるからさ。
ああ。
しかし、お前が昔から年上とばっか遊んでた理由、わかった気がするよ。
じゃあな。
今いいか？
ああ、おかえり。惜しかったな。生徒会だったんだろ？
ああ。それと、入江に色々と聞かれて大変だった。しらばっくれるな。お前な、人の携帯から勝手に妙なメール送るなよ。
悪い。
悪いで済むか。 ごまかすのにどれだけ苦労したと思ってんだ。
だから悪いって。
大体お前はな、昔っから勝手なことばっかり。こっちの苦労も少しは考えろってんだ。
こうやって怒られてっと、思い出すな。あれは確か、俺が小6だった時。
おい、龍一！
あ、ゆきちゃん！
てめえ、西中の奴らに囲まれて逃げ帰ったらしいな。
違うよ、それ。誰から聞いたの？
あ？
絡まれんの避けただけだぜ。いちいち相手してらんねえじゃん。疲れるし。
情けねえやつだ。
要領いいっつってよ。
なんか腹立つな。
足で踏まないでよ。
ったく、帰る。やっぱりお前みたいなガキとはつるんでらんねえ。もううちにも来んな。
やだ
なせ。そもそも俺は男なんかに懐かれたくなかったんだ。
あの頃からあの人の気の短さは天下一品だったぜ。男に容赦なかったのは昔のトラウマが原因か？何しろ同級生に変質者、痴漢、挙句はストーカーからも散々な目に遭わされてたからな。
近寄る
実際俺も何度もつまみ出されてたっけな。
ゆきちゃん、開けてよ。寒いよ。
うるせえ。寒けりゃ部屋戻れ。
ま、それでも押しかけたけど。
いい風呂だった。
ゆきちゃん
お前、いつの間に俺の部屋に。
ゆきちゃん。
たく、しつこいガキだよお前は。諦めるってことを知らんのか。
ゆきちゃん、風呂上がりいい匂い。
将来お前に惚れられた女は大変だな。
しばらくして俺も中学に上がった後、
今朝西中前で2年の雪村さん見たんだけど。
あの人が西中に乗り込んだのを慌てて追っかけたりして、あれはやっぱり俺のことも要因にあったんかね。
おい東雲、おい、聞いてるのか？
聞いてるって、入江に送ったメールのことだろ。
いきなり抱きつくな。
ごまかさなくてよかったのに。俺ら付き合ってんじゃねえの？
それは。
昨べなんか初めてあんなことしてくれたのにさ。やったなんとか言ってよ。
今は勝手にメールを送るなっていう話。気のしたばっかだろ。
俺は四六時中でも触っていたいね。
やめ。俺まだ本当に辛いんだって。
お、いい反応。どれ？嘘。こんな細腰で耐えられるとも思えねえしな。
いい加減にしろ。人をからかいやがって。
悪い。
その言葉今日だけで何度目だ。たく、帰る。
よし。俺も少しは優位に立てるようになってきたんじゃね？昔なんて政権2、3発が当たり前だったからな。
それとな。お前、これだけは言っておくぞ。
やべ、怒った。
昨べは俺もあんなことしてやったけどな。
まさか。
やっぱり気の迷いだった。お前なんかとは付き合えない。バカだし、チャラいし、変態だし。
まずい。今ここで怒らせたら、すべて台無しに。ゆきちゃん？
あの時の俺は、ちょっとおかしかったんだから。毎回、ああだと思うなよ。
何それ？別れるとか言われるのかと思ったら、そっち？たく、俺があの人にかなう日って来んのかな？
from learning from each other. And I feel like especially men would profit from learning from women how to, for example, regulate their emotions, or how to, for example, just find friendships and be vulnerable in friendships, how to make boundaries as well. I think men, because they have been, if you are dependent, quasi on your mom or something, I think you have an issue with boundaries for sure. And that would be like a very, I don't know, like, even though also women have a really bad concept of boundaries, I think everybody in our society actually under capitalism has a very bad concept of boundaries, because capitalism directly profits of people not having boundaries and working their asses off till they die. It's like we would really profit to learn from each other how to have proper boundaries, and just to learn from each other, not based on gender, but just based on knowledge. And I think sexism and this obsession over what male persons can do good and what female persons can do good, is not really helping in just taking on knowledge and gaining more wisdom. I listened to a podcast about sexism raising kids, with chores, but also with little things like comments. You look so beautiful in this dress to a girl, or look at you, you are so strong, fast to a boy. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'm sort of thankful that this was never an issue in my... But it was a different issue. It was a different issue in my childhood. What I actually learned is that I don't want to be mean, but as a child, basically, I learned that men are stupid. Like, men are incompetent and stupid. Like, you can't let them do... Like, I learned from my dad and my mom in the household that my mom is able to do everything and does everything and manage everything. And my dad is overwhelmed and can't do anything. Like, he can't put things in the dishwasher. He can't, like, put his clothes away. He can't make food properly. He can't manage anything anyway. Like, he can't go grocery shopping. Not even with a list. So that's sort of the image I got. Which was like, it's a very different interpretation of sexism, right? Because they definitely had these gender roles, but I interpreted, because of these gender roles, I didn't interpret my dad to be like really strong and like the man of the household and stuff like this. But and my mom had the responsibility in the household because he wasn't able to do anything, right? So like, that's how I sort of just learned, okay, like, incompetent and stupid, can't do anything alone, definitely dependent, not independent. And my mom, who's strong, can do anything, is never overwhelmed, is able to handle anything at any time, all the time. If you ever need help, you always call my mom. Why would you call my dad? That doesn't make any sense. So this is sort of how I interpreted these gender roles, which were also available in my family as a kid. And it's also not a good image. It's like, in this case, it's not a good image for men, but it's like, it's the same gender roles. So to me, it's like, honestly, it's nearly funny how differently you can see this very same gender roles, basically. But yeah. So, and it wasn't really good for my relationship afterwards either, because when Zach and me moved together, I instantly took over this role. So I was the manager, I was managing everything, I was determining what we buy, when we buy it, how we, like, I don't know, where we go, that we have friends, that we do something with the friends. I would buy presents for the birthdays and stuff like this. Like, all of this work, basically, my mom has been doing, I would do. And that way, Zach would always sort of remain a guest in this house, and which perfectly fit because his mom also didn't teach him that he would need to do any household chores. So he just sort of like remained a guest at our apartment and was like, he didn't know where things were, he didn't know what we really needed or anything. Like, he wasn't aware of which things were like running out and stuff like this. And then only with this apartment actually we came to the conversation at some point with also couples therapy that this can't go on like this. Like, he can't just be a guest in this like apartment. Which then came with lots of adjusting actually, because I didn't know that I had a roommate till then, because I had a guest, but guests can want much and get nothing. So it was like really like, now you actually need to make compromises. What's that kind of sort of like this direction? But it's honestly, it's like really nice in the end, because like now I was gone for like 3.5 weeks and I come back and the apartment still stands, like it works. He didn't call me the entire time like, oh, where's the salt, where's the sugar, where's blah blah blah, ooh, do we need whatever, or like buy all new things and like all of the things went bad or anything. The apartment wasn't like completely tired, not tired, dirty, and like the pile of like washing went like up till the ceiling. Like, no, he did everything on his own. He can do everything. So I just came back and the apartment looked clean. It looks like when I left. So that's like the positive thing of this. It looked better than when I left.
You did wash the bathroom a long time when you left.
See, now this is what I have to endure. Now I don't need to listen to that I didn't wash the bathroom for a long time. By the way, the bathroom... You said we? Okay. Because I was about to say, like, that's your job, actually. Like, bathroom and trash, that's your thing. I do the rest. But I think a lot of these gender roles have been taught to your parents from their parents. I mean, I see it with my parents. It was basically the same. Surely my dad could cook a little and was the more handyman guy, but everything else my mom did, but with changing generations. At least I hope both genders will continue to grow more independent, if that makes sense. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but all my relationships, I mostly did the cooking, washed my own clothes, and the rest of the chores have been split up because of preferences in handling chores. I, for example, don't like cleaning in a bathroom, but I do the kitchen after cooking, for example. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think people should be more independent, definitely. Like, I think in a relationship, you always get somehow dependent, but like, I only like also like recently realized that it's also really bad to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, not in terms of like, oh my god, like if you split up, something happens or whatever, but just in like, I wasn't with Zach the last 3.5 weeks and I needed to be okay. And at the beginning, I was really anxious, like, okay, like, who do I talk to? If like, blah, 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 whatever. And now I realized actually I was able to talk to my mom. I was able to talk to my sisters. Like, it's like fine. But yeah, just don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like things can always happen. Like, he can get sick. He can like have to like move for work or something, and then it's like long distance. Like, there's like things which can happen. Like, it's life. Like, putting all your eggs in one basket is low-key stupid. In any case, like, it doesn't need to be a relationship or anything. But yeah, so, but it's honestly, it was really cute because like when I left, the like work colleague of Zach actually offered him to like come over, like if he feels like basically like lonely or needs a change of like sceneries, that he like can like come over for like for dinner and stuff like this. Where I think like that's so cute. That's so like that's how men look out for each other. They're like, here, buddy, I know you're as incompetent as me because you're a man. Come over to me and my wife to let us cook for you and like be your social contact, because I know that you alone don't have any social abilities or can cook, clean, or anything, and will die of loneliness in your apartment if your wife is not there, because obviously your wife It's your whole life and you're entirely dependent on her. Which is more like, that's cute. Is it cute? It definitely was cute. Like, it was such a, like, it was a nicely meant offer. But it's like so interesting how ingrained this perspective of being dependent on your wife is. Like, it's not even like there's no bad tone to it or anything. It's like the most obvious natural thing. And that's sort of like, I don't know, to me that's really funny. More like ridiculous funny, but And I also live alone for like 9 years now, and my apartment still stands, and I can't say I had any problems with roads or anything. Sure, hiccups come and go, like with my bag now, I wasn't able to cook properly or clean a lot, but I think I'm gonna survive. Yeah, definitely. Apes together strong, yeah. I feel like the most important is this is communication, and if a solution is fine for both parts of a relationship, that's perfect. I also think that everyone should know how to live alone. Yeah. I think everyone should know how to live alone. But if there's dependencies forming, that's like fine, but they should, like, I really don't like how you say this, like dependencies which are dependencies which are not balanced officially. Does that make sense? Like, for example, my grandma, she was like a stay-at-home wife. And now, because she never paid into the like elderly, like how you call this, like Renten. Anyway. Yeah, it's like it's if you're old, you can't work anymore, and then you get money from somewhere. Pension? Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So she was a stay-at-home wife. She had like 5 kids. And so she never put money into the pension fund. And in Germany, the amount you get out of it is highly dependent on how much you put in it and your wage, which you have earned before. So basically now she lives at the absolute bare minimum and still needs to work, even though she's already in pension, like far into pension age. And my mom to like clean and stuff to like earn extra cash, basically, because otherwise it wouldn't be enough. And although this luckily works different in the Netherlands, which I think is better, because here everybody has the same pension. And you can, like, if you're on your own, like, you know, work on more pension, that's good for you. But everybody, like, from the state has the same. And to me, for example, because I'm, at the moment, I'm basically also a stay-at-home wife. And we have like a contract, which is basically in my favor, because it's basically till I can support myself, he will still support me, which is then actually fair, because otherwise I would be dependent on not splitting up financially, and wouldn't have the like free choice to stay or split up. Which is also good for him, right? Because otherwise he would be in like a sort of like toxic relationship. Because I would maybe stay without even wanting to stay, but just because I'm financially dependent on him. And now he can be sure that if I stay out of free will. And I feel like that's a value which is often neglected. I think like we don't see it as important. But I think everybody really wishes to be chosen. And I feel like this feeling to actually be chosen is also like easily broken. Like if we know there's a dependency, like even if we try to just like don't think about it and stuff like this, like we know it in our brains and we still won't feel chosen. And I don't know, I feel like it's really important for people to feel chosen. If my grandpa had died before my grandpa, he would have been lost because he never did laundry, cook, or do anything in the house. He just couldn't have lived by himself. That's also a thing, like genuinely. That's the thing my mum recently said. Like, if she would like die or get injured or something, oh my god. Like, that would be so rough. That would be so rough for both of them. Because my mum has high standards, right? And my stepdad, no, he doesn't. No, it's tough. It's tough. That would absolutely throw them in the biggest crisis whatsoever. My mum actually, like, this point of not being dependent, like this will to not be dependent of my mom is so huge that she literally says, like, if she's someday old and would be dependent on somebody, she would rather die. Like, she's gonna like go up a hill and never come back, stuff like this. Like, she's so scared, or like she's so sure that being dependent is basically less worth than life, that she would rather choose death over being dependent, while my stepdad is the entire time dependent. Like, that's so far apart. Like, you have a person which would rather be dead than dependent, and then you have a person who's never been, like, independent their entire lives. Like, that's honestly, that's really insane to me. Yeah. I definitely think it, like, if the dependency is like unbalanced, it's gonna become an issue. But even if the dependency is balanced, I just think you shouldn't be dependent. Like, you can have a pattern of like somebody does this, but I think you should never get to the point where you on your own can't do this. For example, like cooking. Like, maybe I just cook better and like really like cooking, you know? And then Zach doesn't cook. That's okay. But he should be able to, if I leave, cook for himself and not basically like low-key starve or have like a nutrient deficiency while I'm not gone because he can only make one meal. Like, my grandpa famously only was able to do one meal properly. And if my grandma would leave, he would always, like, that's of my dad's side, he would always only make that one meal and go out for dinner and like breakfast and all of this the entire time. So it's like, I don't know. I think you should be able to pull your own weight if need be. Like, also if somebody just, for example, breaks their leg or something. You know, like, you
Or like some short moment, I thought about just going out for dinner like a lot because it only costs half the price when you're not coming.
You know that's still expensive though, right?
Yeah, I do. It's 50% cheaper.
It's not even 50% cheaper. Okay, for Korean barbecue it is, because we pay the same but we don't eat the same. And for ramen it is as well, because actually no, would you even be satisfied with one bowl of ramen? Usually you get my last bit as well. And with pizza as well, you usually get like a few pieces of my pizza as well.
Yeah, but I need like a snack after.
See? I don't even eat the whole pizza. You eat my part of my pizza and your pizza.
But also I didn't go.
Man. I mean, sure, let's just say if our a relationship is 50-50 and one person in the relationship gets unable to provide the 50, it should be a no-brainer that a healthy relationship should also work on a 20-80 for the time being, just to put some numbers on it for easier measuring. Yeah. I think definitely, like, I don't know, like, if you can't, like, your relationship is not really strong if it wouldn't work if somebody is, like, not on their best health. Like, everybody gets sick sometimes. Everybody has, like, parents dying sometimes, you know? Like, there's things which happen. And in these moments, your relationship can either fall apart because you're not able to provide, or your relationship can go on because you just fill the gap, you know? And that's even on a daily basis. Like, this 50-50 gets, like, basically, like, it's so, I don't like calling it 50-50 because, for one, I think this, like, it gives this, for some people, it really means this very, like, nitpicky 50-50 specifically, also just, like, making everything 50-50, instead of being like, oh, that person cooks, that person cleans the bathroom, basically being like, okay, one week I do all of this, the other week you do all of this, which I think is absolutely stupid. Like, I think the beauty behind a relationship is that the 50-50, like, the 50-50 is basically making life easier, because everybody, like, you make a compromise, but usually you can do more of the things you don't mind doing and avoid more of the things you do mind doing, because the other person don't mind these and can do them easier than you do them. And then both of you have less work and more happiness because you can just let somebody else do, like, get the trash out because it's, like, so annoying to you. Or, like, get somebody else to figure out the, like, interior design of your apartment so it looks nice, because you really can't be bothered with that, you know? Like, it's really like you put your best skills together and usually there's something, like, better out of this. And also what I don't like about the 50-50 statement is that for some people, they just see this as, like, an invitation to believe that they're objective about what's 50-50. And I don't mean you. I think you definitely got it. But I just want to clarify that because I think it's so important. Because some people believe that they can objectively, for themselves, determine if it is 50-50 or not. And if that's the case, you can be sure that both people in the relationship believe they do more than the other person. Like, if you're ever that person who yourself makes an evaluation of if you do more or less, you for sure are going to believe you do more than the other person. And this is going to turn into resentment and a conversation which needs to be had. But yeah, so that's sort of the thing. Actually, I have, like, a post I was making about some things of relationships. And I just thought I'm gonna bring them up because we're anyways on that topic, right? Like, why not make a deep dive? Oh, true. So I only can do till 30, so we need to do a quick deep dive. Actually, you know what? Let's leave it for the next time. Because I already have, like, these are huge points, and I don't want to rush them, actually. But we have, like, 24 minutes left, guys. And then we actually go to relationship therapy. Might be one of our last sessions, actually. I mean, that is why healthy communication is the important stuff. If I don't care or don't like certain aspects because they are not important for me, but my partner loves doing that, by all means, go hog wild with it. Have your fun with it. At it. Absolutely. I do believe I was always the person who would say communication is the most important. And then I had one time, and I have to think back to that person because I thought they were rude. But I had one time somebody come in chat and argue with me that communication is really not that important, but that like confidence in yourself, like that the self-confidence is more important. And I was sort of like discussing with them, and then they basically just left the chat in the middle of their discussion without saying anything, and I thought it's absolutely rude. But I do believe now that self-confidence and self-love and knowing what person you are, who you are, is really important. I think the best communication, sadly, does not matter if you don't know who you are as a person. Because you're gonna be inconsistent the entire time. You're gonna be sometimes led by anxiety. You're gonna be sometimes led by trauma. You're gonna be sometimes led by past things of past situations. You're not gonna make sense. You're not gonna know who you are. You're gonna go back and forth the entire time. You're gonna be unsure, maybe like if you don't stand behind yourselves, you're probably also going to have an issue about boundaries. Having an issue about boundaries leads to, for example, resentment. For example, for basically not telling your partner your boundaries and then they like crossing them, but you not even saying anything, and then having like this hidden resentment. It leads to you're not really being able to like incorporate your life into the life of the partner because you don't really know what your life should be or look like. And it also leads you to not standing up to your partner because sometimes you do need to stand up. And it's like important to stand up. It's not nice to just like keep the harmony under all circumstances because you become this person with no character basically. And that's not really a person you like a healthy relationship. Like as like a person in a healthy relationship, you probably don't really love that person because that person has no character. It doesn't give you anything. It doesn't feel equal. And so I think communication definitely is really important, but I think the more important is that you know who you are and you have confidence in your character. Because only then you can be vulnerable, you can be accountable, you can be all of these things which are necessary to actually fix mistakes, to actually fix problems there are, to take responsibility and be reliable, to really work on this relationship with the other person and take action if there's something wrong, because only then you would ask for more. Only then you will work towards progress. And I think that's absolutely necessary to lock into your relationship. Because Zach and me, I always worked on communication and we were together now like 10 years. But for honestly, the first 9 years, Zach wasn't locked in. And that was only because this confidence of his character basically was missing. And he was just going along with me. And I tried everything with communication. I said all of the right things. We literally, like in couples therapy, it was so annoying because I literally said those things to him before, but they didn't click. And then in couples therapy, we got this stage basically to stand behind ourselves instead of having to choose standing behind the relationship and maybe breaking up. But we got the like safety to be able to just stand behind ourselves and sort of like stand behind our own character. And that's also like with Zach's own therapy of like working on like self-love and self-confidence was really important in that sense. And before that, all of the communication did not matter, sadly. It just didn't matter. Because even Zach didn't know what he wanted. Even Zach didn't know why he did that. And so, yeah. Hi, Julian. I didn't want to say hi before because I thought you were only lurking, but welcome. I'm glad you take part in the conversation. Always happy if there's more than a one-on-one conversation, because I really like more opinions and multiple opinions, because sometimes it can be that, especially because Nadim and me are so like usually like even on topics, we just go. We don't even know like if we're going the right way because we're on the same way. We never question if we're on the right way. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's really hard to value different things. And I think if you're at the point where you try to value them, like you already feel like you're either being exploited or, you know, like, why do you care to value them? It's like you only value things where you want to have that calculation, like, is it, like, am I actually not doing too much? Like, you know, it usually comes from this point of being unhappy with the situation, thinking you do too much, or the other person doesn't do enough, or maybe even you do too little. And then, like, but it always starts with this feeling of being unhappy with what you do. And I think any of this unhappiness is always valid, but I don't think the right approach is to try to make it into like an analytical argument of like, I do this and this and this and this, and therefore logically I do too much and you should do more. But it's always a question of feelings, and you should talk about this always with feelings. You should be like, oh, I feel so exhausted the last few days. Can you help me somehow? Or can we find like a different compromise or whatever? Or, you know, like there's a feeling beneath that urge to get like a logical explanation for it. And I think usually you look for this logical explanation because you yourself don't validate your own feelings. And now you need like a logical reason to validate those feelings. So basically, you don't say what's actually going on, because actually you might feel exhausted, you might just feel sad, you might just feel like you don't want to do this, like this sucks, like bringing the trash out sucks, it stings, ugh. But you don't feel like that's, like your partner will believe you or will listen to you, or there's room and space to talk about things. And then you need this like logical reason to bring it up and to be right about this, to ask for more, to ask for help. Like, it usually starts within ourselves because it's like our worldview, how we perceive the world, right? So if you yourself, for example, are really bad with validating your own feelings and feeling like you can ask for more and you can ask for help, then usually you kind of project this picture onto the world as well. And that's why you then look for logical arguments to support your feelings, because your feelings on your own you don't validate, but the logical arguments holds more weight. That's a thing I specifically did a lot of times, because I also didn't really understand feelings, and it was really hard because I'm maybe autistic, who knows. And yeah, I think it's like really important to just don't do that. To just see that feeling, being like, I'm unhappy, and then go to your partner and be like, you know, I just, in the last couple of days, I've been unhappy with the task I have to do. I feel like overwhelmed, I feel exhausted, I feel like it's too much. And sometimes you don't even need to change anything, you know? Sometimes you just need to talk about it because maybe work just has been really much. Sometimes you can just talk about it and then make the compromise that like one task just gets neglected, but like two people agreed on this, and then nobody is like up your ass about it, you know? And then the communication is clear, the expectation is clear. Sometimes doing less isn't bad for anybody in the relationship, and I think that's really nice and valuable to know. So the feelings and views of their partner are absolutely invalid because that is part of communication. I mean, sure, your own values should also be represented, but without knowing through conversation about the values boundaries of your partner, how is this even a relationship? And I'm not talking about avoiding unfavorable topics. I think you should absolutely be able to talk about the bad stuff because you both need to at least understand the other person if you don't agree. And I don't mean the extreme things here. If my partner murders someone and thinks this is cool and fun, be like, nah, bro. Yeah, so, but that's sort of why I think communication is the second thing. Because you first need the will to communicate, to think that you deserve to be heard, to be listened to. You deserve to be accepted with this. And also that your partner deserves to know and to be involved and stuff like this. But I think for this very specific thing, you just need to be sure of yourself first and have this confidence, the self-confidence, inner confidence to take up space. And then you have communication. But I think because right now it's like before we like things came up, right? And then I tried to communicate, but we weren't really. And Zach also tried to communicate and do his best. But we just never really got to a point where things changed. Like we could communicate about stuff, but nothing ever changed. Because he wasn't in it. And that just didn't really help with anything. You know? We just had the same conversations like over and over again. And yeah. So that's why I believe the self-confidence comes first and then the communication comes second. And for me, honestly, because I always like from my mom already, I sort of had this like independence or like this will to take up space, I guess. That to me, it seemed like this is not like a possibility that there's something missing, you know, like the communication is the most important and whatever, because I never experienced that myself. But of course, I picked exactly the right person to teach me this. That yeah, the best communication doesn't help if you have a person who doesn't believe they're worth to communicate, you know, and to take up space. Who are always doubting whether they can should ask for this, and then they don't ask for this, and then later on resent you because there's been building something up under the surface and stuff like this. So yeah, best communication doesn't help for that, sadly. I did a group therapy about social skills a few years ago, and I learned the gewaltfreie Kommunikation. With this type of communication, you have different steps. I see, I feel, and I wish. This allows you to express your point of view without accusing the other person of anything of being unfair. Unfortunately, you also have to learn that not everyone can communicate this way, but it helps me a lot in unpleasant situations to express myself. Yeah. I think it's generally the concept of understanding that you yourself will always have a very subjective view of reality is really helpful. Reality will always look different to other people. Just the way humans work. I made a whole podcast episode about this, where I talked an hour about this, but basically to cut it short, biologically, all our senses influence how we see reality, right? So what stands between our brain and reality, actually, how we perceive it, is already different to other people, right? So a blind person doesn't perceive reality the same way a seeing person does. And then there comes the brain, because the brain is also different from anybody else's brain, right? We know that, for example, traumatic experiences change the brain. We know that a lot of different things actually change the brain. For example, also neurodivergencies. So also that is different to a lot of other people, right? Then not only how you think, but also how you feel and how your body sort of like, how you yourself notice these feelings is different. So for example, for me, a lot of feelings are very delayed, which makes it really hard in these situations sometimes. But that's just, that's just sort of my thing, I guess. I don't know, it's also like an autistic trait. And that makes it also different to how I can like talk about everything, right? And so you have all of these things already. And that's only the reality you yourself perceive. Then, to actually tell somebody that reality, you need to communicate with them and communicate your reality to them. So then your brain and everything you've gone through, like all of this, again, is influencing how you describe that, like which words you use, which language you use. For example, if it's your mother language or not. Then which part of the country you come from. Like there's some dialects, for example, where people use something else. Not only that, which family you come from. Some families have like a different rhetoric than other families, and that's influencing how you describe things. And then the other person needs to interpret this and is interpreting it with all of their experiences, right? And how their family uses specific words and stuff like this. So all in all, talking about stuff and perceiving reality, the reality will never happen. Will just never happen. Like it's a definitely no-brainer. Like nobody actually perceives reality. And honestly, that's sort of also good, right? Because like that means you don't need to perceive reality to advocate for yourself. Because actually the science never mattered. Like, it never mattered if you officially have reason to validate your feelings, because your feelings are always valid. And you should have led with these feelings first anyway. So, yeah. Of course, you should be self-confident in what you want to communicate or what you stand for. If you feel like you can't do that with your partner, I personally am not sure if that is the right thing to be in a relationship then. I mean, if that only happens because of miscommunication or that your partner doesn't receive the message like you wanted to send, it can always be that your partner works on a different view set than you because of different experiences. Often it can help then too. Get on the same level, so to speak. Damn you, Twitch, and your limitations. No. Well, I do half an hour and then ads come. But I'm definitely with you on that. And I do agree, actually, also with our relationship, that back then, I think we shouldn't have stayed together. There was no communication, or like there was a lot of communication, but there was no successful change coming from that communication. Because there was something in between us. And the annoying thing is, we were both not really aware what that was. Because Zach didn't even see it as a possibility to be that vulnerable to your partner, to open that much up. Like, the way he learned about society, that just didn't exist. And for me, it was like, well, if he says that, I believe him. And like, I didn't believe like everything. Like when I got a gut feeling that this is like bullshit, I asked more questions and more questions and more questions. But like when we talked for so much, like he explained what he felt. There was no like lying. Like he explained what he felt. He explained everything about that situation and how it's like so confusing to him. And he got really in his head about stuff. But what was actually missing was that he knew which type of person he is and what person he is. Like, in that moment, he felt that way, but like a second later, he felt different. Like, it was very inconsistent because he himself wasn't sure of himself. So the communication wasn't giving a consistent picture because there was no consistent picture. And that was the thing. And I think that back then, because we moved together instantly after having lived at our parents, and I was already very independent at that point, but he wasn't. And he should have lived alone for like a few years to just figure out like what he wants in life, how he wants to figure out life, what challenges are there in life, and how to fix them himself. The funny thing is, knowing his mom, even if he would have moved out, she would have been up in his business the entire time. So maybe it would have never happened. But yeah, it definitely is a struggle. It has been a struggle. And it's the most annoying struggle because, yeah, no amount of communication actually helps. Because it's just, if you don't trust in vulnerable communication, in honest communication, and if you're still influenced by like past experiences like this and stuff, because you just, I don't know, you're just sort of suppressing stuff and avoiding stuff, and then they pop up like randomly, then it's just, there's no real point. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that's the annoying part, right? So then communication actually fails as well. And for us, yeah, I'm really glad we started couples therapy. Because I honestly, I low-key, I was always like hoping for this, what we have right now. But I was always doubting if it's possible, depending on the experiences we got through and how they were going. And I was too stubborn to leave, which I should have. But well, now it doesn't matter anymore. But I'm just saying, it would have been like, honestly, I think it would have been easier if we would have like taken a break from our relationship, been apart for like, I don't know, like a year, 2 years or something, or just lived apart, and then like came back together if we have figured our shit out and stuff. Because there's definitely like some situations and like patterns we like build over these years, right? Which are really like deep in our being. So now we have to get over those, and that's a struggle. But even then, like now, it has been like since half a year or something, it has been like really nice. And we were able to talk about stuff like way easier. And now all my communication training comes in clutch. I can't explain to you how satisfying it feels to get this like positive reinforcement through therapy that I said the right things and stuff. Because at some points I honestly felt like, is that maybe just not how life works? Like, am I crazy? And no, I was right the entire time. And it's like not a right in like about statements which are like a very definitive and like very strict, yeah, which project a very strict image or something. It's more about sort of like systems and how sort of interactions work and stuff like this. So it's more theoretical, so to say. But it's still like, it's very rewarding to know that I was on the right track. And now I can actually use all of this knowledge that I have gained through like reading all of these books, reading about this stuff, listening to podcasts like these and stuff like this, and actually use it, and it just works. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know that that mom theme, my mom was the same even after I moved out. She always wanted to stay in my business, and when I cut her off, she didn't even understand why, because in her eyes she didn't do anything bad. And when I told her that she has no business in this, we sadly have still the issues with his mom. Like, we don't have contact to her right now because she's really not understanding how to not get in your business and how to just treat you as an independent person. Like, it's really sad, I think, because she's not a bad person. Like, honestly, I kind of like her, but she really doesn't respect personal boundaries. And no. No. And she hated me for this back then because I have personal boundaries. Like, I have personal boundaries in like specific cases. Like, I don't have boundaries in every situation, and I need to work on my boundaries as well. But like, in this very specific case of like, for example, like, you don't come in my room, like, why do you touch my washing? Like, I decide what I wash and what I not wash and stuff like this. Like, I decide where I put my stuff in my room and stuff like this. I decide what I put in my room and stuff like this. Like, there's like a very set view on like, my shit is my shit and you keep out of it, okay? And she didn't respect that, so that's how we sort of like started butting heads. Especially when we first got together, we were already like, you know, like, intimate and stuff. And she still went like in his room and got like the washing and stuff like this. And even also she washed my clothes as well. Bro, that was not fine for me, and that was not fine. Like, just, I didn't even know, you know, and then like all of a sudden there were my strings on the washing line in the main room. I was just like coming out of the room not knowing about anything, and then seeing my yeah. Like, bro, that was not okay. I mean, I can understand, or at least try to take the view of a parent in this. And it probably isn't easy if your kids don't need you anymore. But if you try to keep them independent, they never learn to be their own person and learn to live their own life. Yeah. I mean, that's basically her theme. Like, she really wants to be needed. She was already sort of like I understand her whole theme. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, I know why she wants people to be dependent. But the thing is, we would, like, there's really, you can't, like, we sort of like, I tried to move this to a point where it's like we involve you, and we involve, like, we involve you so you feel like you're important to us, and you're, you know, like, sort of like as an option to, we're not dependent, but we just involve you a lot. But she wasn't able to turn off this entitlement to our private space. Not to defend this in any way. I mean, I don't talk to my parents anymore either, but at least try to understand why it happened, so that the meanings to tell them what happened without them trying to gaslight wait. At least try to understand why it happened, so that I have the meanings to tell them what happened without them trying to gaslight me into overthinking. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, definitely. I absolutely understand why she is that way. Just sadly doesn't really change the fact that she hates me. And I think it's specifically for understanding why she is that way, honestly. Like, there's some people who really don't want to know about their mediocrity and really want to like brush it under the carpet. Yeah, I know we need to go. We need to really go? Okay, we need to almost really go.
I don't like
Let me show you guys my t-shirt, by the way.
Bro! We need to really go!
You said we don't need to really go yet.
This is mean!
I love this t-shirt. Same here. I'm meeting my own last year, but my one condition was that we meet on neutral ground and you never invade my space at home or try to push towards that. Bro. Ah, yeah, true.
Okay, that's it.
Okay,
Really
I gotta go. To sit here and think it could be so easy. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes with her, but she's also very dramatic. She still believes she's right and we're wrong, so that's like a major point, sadly. But we're gonna see each other later, maybe. I don't know when I will have time. I don't know if I have like 2 therapies today, only 1. Okay, I have only 1 therapy.